Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Confidence Looks Good on You, Girl. And today's guest I'm excited about, Dr. Marcia Martin, is going to be joining me in a great conversation. And we're going to be talking a little bit about trauma today, ladies. You have heard me talk about my story a little bit, but one of the things that I haven't gotten into a ton is the conversation about trauma, what it is, how it affects us, and how it can affect your confidence. And I want each and every one of you to have the mindset of a confident woman. So I know that you guys are going to learn a ton from Dr. Marcia, and it's going to be an amazing conversation. So welcome, Dr. Marcia Martin.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here because I do want every woman to feel confident. And I believe that every woman deserves to feel confident.
Yeah.
Just agreeing to come into this life should be enough to allow every woman to move through the world and say, I am enough because I agreed to the journey. So
Yes, I agree with that. And I'm so happy that you said that because as you know, I help women with helping them feel like they're enough. And one of the biggest things that women mention is, or forget about, is kind of feeling like at some point in time, they lost their worthiness or they lost their enoughness. So I love that you just talked about it. It's there when you're born. It's there when you enter into this earth. I think that is such an important piece. And where I want to start, especially since I just introduced this, I want to talk about trauma because I know this is something that you help others with, and I want everyone who's listening to this to learn so much from you. So I want to start off with, just because I know that there's some people that are listening right now, when they think about trauma, they have something specific in their mind on what they think that means. And since that's going to be something we're going to talk about a bit today, I'd love to start off with just the question of, what is trauma? How should we be looking at that?
And, I love that question simply because there is no definition.
Mm,
Trauma is any time that you are feeling anxious, scared, worried, fearful, nervous, something that says, I am not safe in this space, or I am not enough to function in this space, or I cannot expect good things from this space. So I want us to assign a larger definition to trauma so that we
mm,
are acknowledging, hey, this experience that I'm not giving much weight to is lodging itself in my subconscious. And it is now placing limitations on me and how I can act because it's reminding me that I'm not enough. Rather than run away from the fact of, oh, wow, that was not a good thing or not a good experience or a difficult time, I would rather that you look at it, embrace it, and say, okay, you know what? That was horrible.
mhm.
I didn't really want to do that. I didn't appreciate the way it unfolded. I felt so underprepared. I felt sideswiped, whatever you feel, but I got through it. So,
Mhm.
what did I do well that I want to repeat? And what do I not want ever to experience again so that I can be confident? Because if we're always running away from the things that don't go well, we will never realize our strength and develop that confidence that I want every woman to possess, because I want your children to follow in your footsteps and say, look
Mhm.
at my mother, look at my
Mhm.
aunt, my sister, my whomever, look at her leading the way, showing the world what it can look like when you are coming from a heart that is open and pure, but at the same time does not put up with any kind of abuse.
Mhm.
So I want strong women. I think strong women will change the world. No, I don't think it. I know it. I know that strong women will change the world, but strong women must be confident. You just can't be the battering ram in the room unless
Mhm.
that's your personality. And
Mhm.
it doesn't go well. It's not usually the answer. It's okay to be able to bend, just like the trees. They bend in the wind and they're stronger than any of us and have outlasted all of us. So it's okay to bend. We don't have to be stiff. But in order to bend, you do need to be confident. You cannot be ruled or running away from things that may not have gone well.
Yeah. And I think I'm happy to, there's a few good things that you said in there. One, the definition of trauma, of you simplifying that, of anytime we're fearful, anytime we essentially just kind of feel unsafe. I'm so happy that you said that, because I know for myself, and I'm sure there's other women listening to this right now, my thought about trauma was, I think about like going off to war and, these really big catastrophic types of situations. That's always how I identify trauma. But trauma can be just as simple as you were talking about. Anytime you feel, unsafe, and you revert back to thinking about an unsafe experience that you had. I mean, I don't think a lot of women knew that. So I'm so happy that you said that. And one thing also that you mentioned about limitations and how it can limit us. I'd love to talk about that a little bit more, because I don't think that oftentimes, and I know that I didn't until I really started to educate myself on trauma and have more conversations with mental health professionals about trauma. But you don't really recognize how trauma does limit you and how it affects you and how you see yourself and how you see the world around you. So I'd love for you to talk more about, how does trauma affect how you can see yourself, how you can see others and see the world around you? I mean, what kind of limitations do happen when you're, operating from a place of trauma?
Well, and I think so brilliant because we don't think, oh, I'm limiting myself. The
Mm,
conversation we're having with ourselves is, I'm making myself safe. I'm
mm,
making my
yeah.
children safe. I am making wise choices that will be beneficial and ensure that this thing doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
But have we examined what it is that we are hiding from? And could it easily be overcome and then allow you to be more present in your life, more
Yeah.
confident, more powerful, less
Mm-hmm.
likely to be in a traumatic situation in the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah.
So, I know for myself, it was limitation, limitation, limitation. I just, I could barely move 1 inch in any direction
Yeah.
because I was so busy identifying ways in which I could control the circumstances to keep my
Mm,
children safe.
mm-hmm.
And rather than make me bigger, I made the circumstances bigger and me smaller. So I
Yeah.
kept saying to myself, well, you're not enough to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
So don't try. Hold
Mm,
back. Don't don't say what you wanted to say, or don't attempt what you were going to attempt, because you're not really enough. And
mm,
everybody's going to know, or all the, or you're going to fail, and then your children are going to be
mm,
hurt by this. And so it was just, don't become, just try to stay as you are.
mm.
And that is such a an unnecessary and unhappy way to live your life,
Yeah.
because we're here to grow. We are
Mm-hmm.
here to mature, we're here to explore, we're here to expand. And the minute that you try to keep yourself
Mm-hmm.
in a box is the time when the depression and the anxiety and the fear
Mm.
and the overwhelm can really get a hold of you.
Yeah, I thought it was so beautiful when I mean, there's a lot in there that you said that was great. But what stuck out to me was, don't become, just stay as you are. And I thought about how many times myself years ago, that wasn't the exact phrasing, but that was the mantra. that I would live by. And before actually even, and you talking about your circumstances specifically, being bigger than you, because that's what we do when we just, like you're saying, don't decide to become and just stay exactly where we are. And I know how terrifying that can be and can feel, and how small you can feel like the world is just gonna enclose on you. So, I mean, what an amazing way of describing, you know, just what it feels like to operate from that place. And so I'm curious now, because I'm sure we have women listening to this and they're like, okay, that's me. I've decided in some kind of way, somehow, that I'm just staying where I'm at. I'm prioritizing safety here. I hear what you're saying. What would you tell them now? What's a healthy way to start approaching if you want to start moving out of that place and going somewhere new? What would you say?
The first thing that I'm going to ask each person to do is to get into the mirror and
Mm,
say, I love you.
yes. Hmm.
Just, I love you, and then your name. And no more
Hmm.
than that. Just, I
Hmm.
love you. I love you as you are.
Mm,
I love you in this moment.
yeah.
And then if you, or once you become comfortable with that, then allow yourself to say, and I see you as more than enough.
Mm,
So, we are so used to it in our traumatized state, being overwhelmed and having lots of information thrown at us and a lot of things that we don't feel that we can accomplish.
mhm,
So just, it might take you a week just to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you, and really mean it, and really feel like, yeah, I can like this person. I can love this person, even though they may not have, um, they may not be operating at their most magnificent.
mm,
They are still worthy of being loved.
yeah.
So just start right there. Just, I love you. And as soon as you can take a breath, instead of, but I would love you more if you did X, Y, and Z, be, cut the conversation off. Don't allow yourself to go down negative alley, critical
Mhm,
conversations. Just, I love you. No, because just, I love you. Once that is really something that feels okay, then, and I see you as more than enough, just as you are.
mm,
One of the things that was always worrisome to me is that I would get stuck. I was in this place that was not much. I was not much of anything. And I didn't ever want to compliment myself in that not much place
yeah,
because I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want to be not much. I wanted to be more than enough.
right.
And so I kept withholding any kind of kindness and love from myself
Mhm,
because I thought, well, I'll be more motivated if I really see myself as I am.
mm.
And of course, the only thing that happened is that I became less and less and less because I felt, you know, even more overwhelmed or exhausted or unworthy.
Mhm,
So when I began turning the conversation around and just allowing myself to love me,
mhm,
even though me wasn't what I considered valuable at the time,
mhm,
even though I allowed, I got to the place where, okay, I can love me,
yeah.
sort of. I was still in the sort of category, but I can love me. And then I began, okay, all right, I can see myself as enough, or I can begin to see myself as enough. You take baby steps toward
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah, so important to do that. I love everything you're saying because this is what I love to talk to my clients about. And this is what I love to share on this podcast. And what you said, if I were to take what you said and put it into 3 steps, but one, say that I love you. Two, don't allow the inner criticism to come in and continue having a conversation. And then three, don't judge yourself for where you're not at. And I love that you mentioned that, because I know what you're talking about. I did the same thing. It's a very interesting thing where we naturally seem to think that judgment and criticism will fuel us more. I love how you were talking about, if I could just see myself as I am right now, then maybe I would change or something different would happen. But it doesn't work like that. What we fail to realize often is that love is actually the most powerful motivator for moving us forward. Because I have so many clients who are like, that sounds so woo, and it sounds nice, and everything. But I tell them, like, no, this is everything. This is, I bet you too, the one thing you have not tried yet is you've probably tried to force things. You've probably tried to beat yourself up about who you're not becoming. But saying I love you and then telling all the other voices to shut up.
Yes, they no
Biggest thing.
longer get a seat at the table. They
Yes.
have been squashing you, overriding you, demeaning you,
Yeah.
preventing you from being you for all this time. So we're just giving you permission to be you in whatever way that looks like. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't fit in any one particular mold.
Yeah.
Let yourself just be the gift that you came to be. And absolutely everyone has brought a gift to share. I
Mm.
cannot be you and you cannot be me, but
Mm.
we can be the best versions of ourselves. And that is the gift that we are bringing to the world.
Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that. So I want to ask you this question. I almost feel like it's been kind of water dropped throughout the conversation, but everyone that I have on the podcast, I have to ask it because I love to hear everyone's own personal experience with this. But what does self-confidence mean to you?
It is the minute that I try to look in the mirror, or you get dressed. Oh, what do I look like? Oh, look at my hair. The minute I allow any self criticism into the conversation, or, oh, why did you say that? Or
Mm.
self confidence is eliminated. Now I have to trip over myself for the next few minutes while I try to take a few breaths and get back to the place where I'm saying, wait a minute, I'm losing myself. I
Mm.
am criticizing myself out of being. And
Mm.
so I need to reintroduce me to me. So confidence looks like loving myself no
Mm.
matter what mistake I might be making, no matter how great I look or bad I look, no matter how intelligent I sound or how ridiculous I may
Mhm.
um, be sounding at the moment. And no matter how the public is perceiving me.
Yeah.
Confidence is, I love and accept myself just as I am.
Mm.
And I am giving myself permission to be even more in every moment, not because I want to impress someone else, but because I am enjoying this journey and all that I can learn. And I can't do it if I've stuffed myself into the role of someone else's opinion.
Yeah, I love that. And I think especially when you were talking about loving yourself no matter how many mistakes you make or whatever it is you look like that day. And I think that's so important because I think the motivation that many women think about when on why they want to gain self-confidence is because the theory is once I have self-confidence, then I won't make more mistakes. or I won't,
I
like,
make so
I'm
many
gonna,
mistakes
yeah,
now.
like it's like once I'm more confident, it'll help me get out there and just kind of do all of these things, and I'll look as perfect as I actually want to be. And that's not how it works, right?
Oh gosh,
That has
spoiler alert.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I am living a life of freedom, which means I make so many mistakes
Hmm.
that I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But it's just like, all right, what am I supposed to be learning from this? How can
Yeah.
I do it better? Or, oh, look at this happy accident that I have stumbled upon because I was not in my box, but allowing myself to flow freely.
Yeah.
So confidence has given me the opportunity to make many more mistakes, but just
Mm.
not to worry about it.
Yeah, that's the secret there. That I love the word you used. It's the freedom. And that's what I want every woman to really have, is the freedom to not have to bow down or assimilate to cultural expectations, maybe even familial expectations, and allow you to really be who you want to be, make as many mistakes as you want to make, do your hair and have it be a mess and go out and still feel like you are an amazing, powerful woman and that you have something to offer people, even if it doesn't all look like you think it should look.
And I think, especially with physical appearance, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're told, oh, you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too old, you're too young. Oh my gosh, you know what? Just be quiet.
Yeah.
I am me, just being me. Some
Yeah.
people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. And I've just gotten to the place where I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much freedom in that because you don't end up spending a lot of energy doing all the other stuff,
Heck
trying to
yeah.
avoid not to look the way that everybody else doesn't think you should look.
And if you were to try to be their ideal, you wouldn't do it well anyway.
Mm,
That's really the long and the
yeah.
short of it, is that all of the times, all of the years that I spent
Mm,
trying to be someone else's ideal and someone else's sense of right,
hmm.
I was stiff and not contributing in the way that
Mm,
I am able to contribute in this time,
yeah.
where it is, I am not living a conventional life, and
Mm,
I am not doing work in a conventional way. And it is very upsetting to people that thought that they knew how I should live my life. But
yeah.
I'm done apologizing, and I'm just going to be me. And
Mm,
it doesn't bother me any longer if you don't want to be on this journey with me. It's okay
yes.
for you to go where you feel comfortable, but I'm going to go where I feel comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to ask you to piggyback off of that because I know that someone is asking this question after you just said that. Because I think there's this fear of, if I tell someone, here's where I'm going, and you seem to be going, in another direction that I don't want to go in. And that fear of, if I set that boundary, if I were to tell someone something that they don't agree with, or that doesn't work for me, I think there's this natural fear of being alone, and like there's not going to be someone else on the other side that will appreciate you for who you are. So if I'd love for you to speak to that woman who's maybe in that boat where she's like, that sounds really great.
But
But
it means I might not have a significant other
mm,
in my life. And you know what? You are your significant other. And
yes.
that's the place where we have to begin and end. You've got to love you.
Yeah.
And you've got to be okay with you, because the only person that you are guaranteed to spend 24 hours a day with, 7 days a week, for all of your physical existence is you. And
Mm,
if you are looking for someone else to provide you validation so that you can be you, you are never going to be comfortable with this being. And then you are going to put yourself in relationships where you're being someone you don't want to be, or
mhm,
you're being asked to do things that you don't want to do, and you'll have to do them because otherwise this person that you are using for validation may not stick around.
yeah.
Well, from someone who is divorced after a very long marriage, there comes a time when it is unhealthy for the partnership to continue if growth has occurred and you are no longer the same person that entered into the partnership.
Mm,
And that is not criticizing either side,
yeah.
but I entered into a partnership as a very broken, naive, and traumatized individual.
Mm,
As I grew and gained confidence and really did the work, I became a different being. And if I had chosen to stay in that relationship, then I would have actually prevented the other person from being all they needed to be, because
mm,
they were relying on me to be for both of us. Oh, you already did it? Okay, well then, I can just
yeah.
I can just keep doing this behavior that is not honoring myself,
Mhm,
because you're here to fix it. And you can be the fix it for so long, but then you're starting to see that, gosh, the other person is not benefiting from being in a relationship with you, and you're
mm,
not benefiting either. It's
mm,
causing both of you to be resentful or to act in unloving ways. That is not a good partnership. That is when you can lovingly separate and continue to grow. And it's better that you're growing separate than that you are trying to grow together, because you're not growing together.
yeah.
It's the time when you got to have the honest conversation. Now, what do you do about the loneliness? You learn to love you. You
Yeah.
learn to say, what do I love about me? And how can I get more of that into my life? And how can I feel fulfilled as I am? Because
Mm,
if you're just going from one relationship that lasted until it couldn't be fixed anymore,
yeah.
and you're trying to then hop from that broken place into the next relationship that will also have broken parts to it because you're arriving to it broken,
Mhm,
then you're just going to be a serial relationship person.
mm,
You're just constantly going to be in unfulfilling relationships. So if you are in a relationship that you might have started when you were broken, and you get to the place where you have grown beyond that and you can see its brokenness and see that the other person, and it doesn't matter whether they're male or female, it's just the other person is not wanting to go on the journey with you, then you don't need to shout and blame and point fingers and do the whole accusations thing. Just lovingly release them and lovingly accept you, and spend time loving you until you are ready to get into a new relationship, because you feel that, gosh, now I have love to share.
Yeah.
Now I feel so full. Now I feel I'm so joyful. Now I would like a partner who is equal to my fullness instead of
Mm.
mirroring my brokenness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how we end up pulling from other people, hoping that they fill a cup that we think is
Oh,
a problem. And so
absolutely.
I love that you talked about how you mentioned, obviously for yourself, but the other person, how that other person doesn't gain the freedom to be able to be everything they want to be either, because you're hoping that they'll validate some area that
Oh,
maybe you're not
yes.
validating yourself. And I think that, and that's where the loneliness sets in, because people think about loneliness in terms of marital status. But I think I love how you were talking about, and I think it's so important to mention that it doesn't matter on marital status. Loneliness appears when you are deciding to abandon yourself, when you've told yourself, there's some part of me that isn't right. So I'm just going to shove it over to the side and berate it. That's what causes that loneliness. So, yes, I so agree with you that you've got to start loving you in order to help fill that, whether you're in a relationship or you're not.
A relationship can be the loneliest place on earth
Yeah.
because if you are looking to the other person to do all of the work of fulfillment for you, you're never, first of all, they're not capable of doing it. And secondly, they can't be you. So they're going to let you down in some way,
Mm-hmm.
not on purpose, but because they're busy trying to live their life and hoping that you're going to help them become more, just as you want them to become more. So two broken pieces don't create a whole, but two whole pieces coming into a relationship create a new, more dynamic third being, but the two still get to keep their wholeness, their completeness.
Mm.
So I don't want anybody going into a relationship saying, oh, I just need someone to complete me, because that is damaging the other person.
Mm-hmm.
That is saying, other person, give up your goals and dreams and life for me, and I guess I'll give them up for you. I don't quite
Mm.
know. It's like, wait a minute, what's your role? It's when we are looking for the other person to complete us, then we are saying, oh, well, if I just put a lot of damaged things together, no one will be able to see the cracks and the rips and the tears.
Mm.
And yet, an ideal relationship is truly when I say to myself, I'm going to work on loving me, feeling good about me, seeing what I can accomplish and what I can offer to the world. And from that place of overflowing goodness, I want to attract a person who is also in that same headspace,
Yeah.
offering something of value to the world because they love and accept themselves so much. And then you can create a dynamic new partnership that can serve the world even more brilliantly and honor both parties.
Yeah. Love it. Oh my goodness. So much, so much, so much gold in there. And as before we leave our conversation today, I want I want you to just, if there is some woman out there who's listening and she is really feeling insecure, she doesn't like looking at herself in the mirror. She's not happy. I would love to hear any advice, anything that you would just, the biggest thing that you've learned that you want to tell her and where she is right now. What would you say?
I think the thing that we need to remember is that we must commit to beginning,
Yeah.
because I can't tell you the amount of years that I said to myself, well, I'll do it when. I'll do it
Mm.
when my children are older. I'll do it when I have this recognition from some outer thing. And it was just a way to deny myself. It was
Mm,
just a way to prevent myself from saying, I don't like anything about me, and I'm not willing to look for anything that has value.
mm,
So the first thing I'm going to ask that woman who says, I just can't do this mirror work, is to say, okay, I commit
mhm,
that I am going to find something of value.
mm.
It can be minuscule. It can be, I am nice to the checkout people when I go to the grocery store.
Yes.
It can be, I offer a smile, or I let other people go ahead of me. Uh,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to have anything to do with your physical characteristics. Just get that off the list, unless you are drop dead gorgeous and you want to hang your hat on that. I
Yeah.
would rather hang your hat on your heart and
Mhm,
look at all of the ways, because the thing that I've found the most over all of these years of working with individuals who are recovering from trauma and abuse is that they have incredible hearts.
mm,
They have tried to be there for others over and over and over again, and yet
mm,
they've never learned how to be there for themselves. So I
mm,
would just begin in the heart and say, what do I love about me?
mhm,
The characteristics that identify me, that make me me, that I know will always be me. And some of those are going to be empathy, kindness, caring, being a good listener,
mm,
being willing to go out of your way for others. Those are the really beautiful characteristics that are worth loving.
mm,
Your physical body, hey, we're all going to age,
mhm,
and we're all going to die at some point, transition over into an energetic body. And you'll probably look back at that physical body that you were so obsessed with and say, eh, whoa, look at me now. I am so much more than I ever thought I could be.
Yeah.
So I want to take your eyes away from the physical and just get into that heart space, the energetic heart space. And why are you worthy? What do you offer when you leave your house and go to a friend or go out into the world? How do you conduct yourself? Are
Mm,
you the one that's running up on everybody's bumper and honking your horn and trying to be first? I doubt it. I
mm.
sincerely doubt that anybody listening to this podcast is in that category,
Mhm.
because you just don't get to the let me improve myself from that place. So
Yeah.
you're going to be the one that is gracious and loving and kind and honoring and uplifting and inspiring.
Yeah.
So take those qualities. First, you have to commit, beginning right now. Don't make it even tomorrow.
Mhm.
Beginning right now in this moment, I commit to finding ways to love and acknowledge all that I already am.
Yeah.
Start digging. When I go out into the world, or when a friend calls me in need, or when I'm at work, or whatever I'm doing, do I do a really horrible job? Or do I overgive? I mean, people have said to me, you're such an overgiver. And you know what I reply? Thank you.
I was gonna say, I hope you say thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy it. I receive so much. I am so grateful for everyone that I work with, because they have taught me what a beautiful world we could really be in, and what a beautiful world exists in the hearts of all of these empathic beings. So, do I overgive in during my counseling? Oh, yes. Is it worth it? Absolutely.
Oh, beautiful.
It's
So
priceless.
beautiful.
It is so priceless to help somebody step away from the pain and into their magnificence.
Yeah. Now this is a good time actually, because before we leave, I want to make sure people know, can you really briefly just mention what you do and how people can get in touch with you? And so that after this, if they want to dive into more of your work or any resources, they know exactly where to go. How can people find you?
Well, come to my website. It's mmhearthealer.com, MM for Marcia Martin, and Heart Healer, because that's my work. All that I feel that I do is help you access the energetic heart space.
Mm,
So that's why I call myself the heart healer. I help you move beyond the limitations, the trauma, the abuse, the pain, and all of the ways in which you have hurt yourself. I do it, though, a little unconventionally because I work with the angels. And so what happens is, even though it's very similar to traditional talk therapy, it's sped up because when you have the help of the angelic realm, they show you the incident that you may have been holding on to, the place that you're blaming yourself or the area in which you're stuck. And then we can go right to that place and release it. But it's necessary, I find, that you really understand what this thing was, because nothing is ever out to get you. It's always out to teach you. But if you don't know what it's the lesson that it's trying to share with you or the challenge that it's offering you, you may feel that it is out to get you and you're not enough. So you need to shut down. So this is just the opportunity to explore it, to see it, to speak with it, to understand it, and then to release it and to replace it with truth.
yeah, such a beautiful work. Thank you so much. And everybody, yes, check out the website. I'll put some of that information into the show notes. Check out more of Dr. Marcia Martin. And especially if you're a woman in need and this has resonated with you, you'll want to reach out to her so that she can assist you. But thank you so much for being with me today. It has been an amazing conversation that I know is just going to go well beyond, and I'm hoping that all you women listening, that it's brought so much value to you. So thank you, Dr. Marcia. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for being you, for having this podcast, for being a light in the world. I'm just
Oh,
so delighted when I meet other loving hearts because none of us can do it alone, but all of us can do it together.
amazing. I'm so agree. All right. Thank you. And to all the rest of you, I'll talk to you next week.